Greetings everyone and welcome to my review of this dual fan attack on this new CPU cooler by CRYORIG. Let me introduce you guys the H7 Plus. As far as I've heard, the standard H7 is CRYORIG's best-selling cooler to date, and no wonder it's fairly cheap, compact, and does offer fantastic cooling performance for the price. Then last year I've taken a look at the H7 Quad Lumi, which was basically the same cooler but adapted to the new RGB craze that apparently hasn't even reached its peak yet until we see RGB lit CPUs. And in 2018 we now have the possibility of picking up one of these H7 Plus coolers, essentially an H7 with one more additional fan attached to it. Right now availability is still scarce, but I was told to expect a pricing of about $45, which seems fairly reasonable. Now, how good of a cooler is this one? Is it for you? Surprisingly, there's really not even that much mounting hardware included this time around. And yes, some of that cryo paste is there too. Oh, by the way, some of you guys that live and breathe RGB will be let down here. This is more of a traditional cooler with no lighting at all going on. What kinda stands out compared to many other air coolers or fin designs in general is this high fin structure. Apparently, this should enhance cooling efficiency as well as overall strength of the whole structure. Interesting. In general, I'd say the original H7 or Quad Lumi edition are pretty compact coolers, but with this one I no longer get that impression, even though when looking at the dimensions it actually still counts as being fairly compact. And even though there are so many new ways to design air coolers these days, like black thermal coating, spectacular lighting, and so on and so forth, CRYORIG apparently opted to keep this one simple, not really paying that much attention to the recent trends. This might be a good thing to some, others won't be so happy about it. To keep the noise level down, there are rubber pads on both of the fans, so we shouldn't be experiencing too much vibration noise. This H7 Plus should have no problems handling a TDP of up to 150 watts, and generally speaking, I'm kinda surprised we only get 3 heat pipes here compared to 4 or more that many other coolers offer. Of course, this doesn't necessarily always translate to actual performance. As for sockets, basically the mainstream ones by Intel and AMD are supported. No LJ 2066, 2011 or AMD TR4 love here. Now, the installation is actually pretty straightforward in theory, but it did take me a bit longer than usual to successfully mount this cooler. And as you can see, I did run into some clearance issues on the second additional fan. If your motherboard's VRM heatsinks are too high, or as in my case, this plastic part interferes with the fan, you'll end up with an overlapping fan. Well, at least I could still mount it to the heatsink with ease. Performance shouldn't be impacted by this, so it's mainly just a cosmetic issue in my case. You should be fine with most boards, but it's just a thing to keep in mind still. As for memory clearance, absolutely perfect. No sign of any interference here, not even close. But how's the cooling performance? Let's check it out. Okay, honestly nothing groundbreaking really. In fact, fairly predictable results there. The H7 Plus is slightly better than the H7 Quad Lumi, which essentially is just an RGB lit H7. Given the price of $45, the H7 Plus is a very competitive cooler indeed. This one is as good as the Freezer 33 Esports Edition by Arctic, also sporting a dual fan design and coming in at $45. Even the noise level is very similar, both being clearly audible when putting heavy load on my overclocked i7 7700K, but nowhere near to what I would call loud. On idle or under light loads, very quiet actually. So at the end of the day, the CRYORIG H7 Plus is a good offering in my opinion. It provides good cooling for $45, despite the lack of any kind of lighting, quite good looking nonetheless, and yeah, the only thing you might have to look out for is the overlapping fan issue. A minor one, but one that could make your system look a bit odd. And with that said, I'm giving this CRYORIG H7 Plus my Silver Award. Thanks for watching everyone.